got on the plane and went there, and my career started. So I wrestled, for like the summer vacation, from school. So now it's back to go, it's time to go back to school. And so I went back home and...
The real reason Rick Martel retired from wrestling might surprise you. Sure, the short answer is injuries, but it goes way deeper than that. His body took such a beating that it ended up costing him everything. His spot in the ring, his momentum, his career. And that's the tough part to swallow, because Rick had all the tools. Charisma, talent, that smooth style fans loved. To see it all come to an end like that, honestly, it's one of those stories in wrestling that just hits different. Rick Martel's wrestling career came to an unfortunate end, and it all boiled down to injuries that his body just couldn't bounce back from. It happened in WCW back in 1998. Martel was facing Booker T when things went wrong. A simple hip toss went sideways, and Martel tore a ligament in his knee. It was serious, but he didn't give up right away. He worked hard to recover and actually made a return. But heartbreak hit again. In his very first match back, this time against Stevie Ray, he ended up hurting his neck. Just like that, his comeback was over before it even had a chance to begin. With both his knee and neck badly damaged, Martel had no choice but to step away from the ring for good. It was a sad end for someone who still had so much to offer. But when fans look back on Rick Martel, it's not just the injuries or the way his career ended that they remember. It's the character he played so well, the over-the-top, arrogant fashion model. The model gimmick wasn't just another persona, it was something totally unique. What really stood out was that atomizer he carried around. Martel called the spray Arrogance, and he used it like a weapon. Right when his opponent least expected it, he'd spray them right in the eyes with that nasty stuff, blinding them and stealing the win. It was such a simple idea, but man, did it work. Fans hated it, opponents hated it, and that's exactly why it was so good. That little bottle of arrogance became part of his identity. It was sneaky, flashy, and oh so effective. And here's the part that made Martel so special. He wasn't just playing a gimmick. Behind all the sunglasses, the slick back hair, and the cheesy smirk was a guy who could really wrestle. Like, really wrestle. Martel was one of the smoothest technical wrestlers of his time. Everything he did in the ring looked clean and sharp. He had great timing, crisp moves, and he could adjust his style to match anyone. Whether it was a wild brawler, a high-flying risk-taker, or another technical wizard, Martel could hang with them all. He made it look easy, even when it wasn't. A lot of fans and even fellow wrestlers believe Rick Martel never got the full credit he deserved. Sure, his model character was fun, even a little goofy at times, but the guy underneath was the real deal. He had the skills, the experience, and the work ethic that made his matches stand out. Injuries may have ended his career too soon, but his impact and that unforgettable cloud of arrogance still linger in wrestling history. Now let's rewind the clock and go all the way back to where it all began. Let's take it back to where it all began. Before the flashy model gimmick, before the arrogant spray, before the bright lights of WWF. Rick Martel was born into a wrestling family, and it was pretty clear from the start that wrestling was in his blood. His big break didn't come from a tryout or a scheduled debut. It came by chance. He was only 17 years old when his brother Michel, who was already a wrestler, asked Rick to step in for someone who got injured. That's how it all started. Martel, already a talented amateur wrestler, took to the pro game quickly. He had natural ability, solid fundamentals, and a ton of passion. From there, Martel wrestled all over the world, making a name for himself in places like Canada, New Zealand, Japan, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico. In Canada, he competed in Stu Hart's Stampede Wrestling and the Vancouver-based NWA All-Star Wrestling. He also worked for the World Wrestling Council in Puerto Rico. His first big break in the United States came in 1979 with Pacific Northwest Wrestling, the NWA's Portland affiliate. There, he quickly rose to the top, holding both the Canadian and PNW Tag Team Championships at the same time. But in the world of wrestling, you're only as good as your last match. And on August 16, 1980, Martel lost a loser leaves town match to Buddy Rose, forcing him out of the promotion. Even so, his time in Portland helped him build serious momentum. For a while, Martel also worked behind the scenes. He spent some time in Hawaii, not just wrestling, but also helping book matches and storylines. That experience gave him a deeper understanding of how the business worked beyond just what happened inside the ring. In July 1980, Martel took another big step forward. He joined the World Wrestling Federation. That fall, he teamed up with Tony Garea. They were a strong babyface team, clean-cut, athletic, and exciting to watch. On November 8, 1980, they won the WWF Tag Team Championships by defeating the Wild Samoans. The crowd loved them. Martel and Garea defended their titles successfully until March 1981, when they lost the belts to the Moondogs. But they didn't stay down for long. They won the titles back in July. Their second run as champs didn't last forever, though. In October, they dropped the belts to Mr. Fuji and Mr. Saito. Despite repeated attempts, they couldn't get the titles back. And in April 1982, Martel left the WWF. Next stop, the American Wrestling Association. Martel joined the AWA in 1982, and this is where he truly hit his stride as a singles wrestler. On May 13, 1984, he defeated the legendary Jumbo Tsuruta to win the AWA World Heavyweight Championship. This wasn't just a short reign. Martel held the title for nearly 19 months, the longest reign of the 1980s and the third longest in AWA history. During that time, he had high-profile matches against big names like Ric Flair, Jimmy Garvin, Nick Bockwinkel, and King Tonga. His wrestling style was smooth and polished, and his finishing moves, like the slingshot splash and a combo of atomic drop followed by a back suplex, kept fans on their feet. But eventually, every champion falls. On December 29, 1985, Stan Hansen made Martel submit to the Brazos Valley backbreaker, ending his historic reign. By 1986, Martel was back in the WWF, this time bringing along a new tag team partner, Tom Zenk. The two were called the Can-Am Connection, a high-energy, good-looking babyface duo that quickly won over the crowd. Their chemistry and athleticism made them instant fan favorites. They kicked off WrestleMania 3 in front of 93,000 fans by defeating Cowboy Bob Orton and the Magnificent Morocco in an exciting opening match. Things were looking up for the Can-Am Connection, and many thought they were destined to win the tag team gold. But then, out of nowhere, the team split. Zenk suddenly left the WWF. According to Zenk, Martel had negotiated a deal behind his back and was getting paid 3 times more, even though they were supposed to be a team. In the wrestling world, tag teams usually get equal pay, so Zenk felt betrayed. Martel, however, had a very different story. In the book Mad Dogs, Midgets, and Screwjobs, he explained that he had a rule ever since being fired by promoter Jim Barnett. He never talked money with other wrestlers. Martel claimed Zenk either imagined the pay gap or was influenced by others. According to him, Vince McMahon paid tag teams equally. Martel also believed Zenk wasn't ready for the grind of pro wrestling, saying, "Tom wasn't mentally or physically as strong as I thought he would be." With Zenk gone, the WWF had to adjust. The Can-Am Connection had been feuding with the Islanders, Haku and Tama, and now Martel was left on his own. The storyline adapted quickly. The Islanders started calling Zenk a quitter, claiming he ran off because they knew they'd never beat them. Martel continued the feud solo and actually beat both Haku and Tama in one-on-one matches in July 1987. Then came a big turning point. On August 15, 1987, episode of Superstars of Wrestling, after Martel won a match against Barry Horowitz, the Islanders attacked him. Tito Santana, who was doing commentary at the Spanish announcers table, rushed in to save Martel. The two joined forces and formed a new tag team, Strike Force. Strike Force had a lot of similarities to the Can-Am Connection. They were two handsome baby faces, full of energy and heart. They even used the same theme song, Girls in Cars. The name Strike Force came from something Santana said. They were going to strike with force, and Martel liked the sound of it. Strike Force quickly caught fire. They went after the WWF Tag Team Champions, the Hart Foundation, and on an episode of Superstars, Martel made Jim Neidhart tap out to the Boston Crab to win the titles. It was a big moment. For 5 months, Strike Force defended the belts against top teams like the Hart Foundation and the Islanders. But at WrestleMania 4, their reign came to a painful end. They faced Demolition, a powerhouse duo backed by manager Mr. Fuji. During the match, Martel had Smash locked in the Boston Crab, and the crowd was going wild. But while the referee was distracted by Tito Santana brawling with Fuji, Axe grabbed Fuji's cane and smacked Martel on the back of the neck. Smash rolled him up for the pin, and just like that, the titles were gone. Soon after that loss, Martel took time off from wrestling. On screen, it was said he was injured during a rematch with Demolition in Oakland, California, when Smash hit him with a steel chair. The duo then performed their double-team Demolition decapitation move on Martel outside the ring, leaving him unconscious. The storyline claimed he suffered back injuries and a concussion. But in reality, Martel stepped away from the WWF to care for his seriously ill wife. He took 6 months off to be with her, showing a personal side not often seen in the wrestling world. Martel made a quick stop back in Puerto Rico's WWC, even beating Kamala there, before returning to the WWF in early 1989. He was back as a singles wrestler at first, but at WrestleMania 5, he and Tito Santana reunited as Strikeforce to take on the Brainbusters, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. But things didn't go as planned. During the match, Santana accidentally hit Martel with his flying forearm, knocking him out of the ring. Frustrated and fed up, Martel refused to tag back in. He left Santana all alone in the ring, where the Brainbusters finished the job and pinned him. After the match, Martel cut a heated promo with Mean Gene Okerlund. When asked how he could abandon his partner like that, Martel snapped. "I'm sick and tired of him," he said. "I was doing great as a singles wrestler, but no. Mr. Tito wants to ride my coattails some more." Looking directly into the camera, Martel warned Santana that he was lucky he only walked away. Martel had officially turned heel. To back up his new attitude, he joined forces with manager Slick. Martel feuded with Santana on and off for the next couple of years. They traded wins, with Santana beating Martel in the finals of the 1989 King of the Ring tournament. But Martel got his revenge at the main event 4, where he beat Santana clean. By the end of 1989, his alliance with Slick quietly ended. But Martel was just getting started on what would become the most iconic chapter of his career. By late 1989, Rick Martel had reinvented himself as the Model, a cocky, self-obsessed villain who strutted to the ring with a smug grin, a turquoise sweater tied around his shoulders, and a giant pin that screamed, "Yes, I am a model." He even carried a giant atomizer filled with his fake cologne, Arrogance, which he often sprayed into opponents' eyes to blind them. His biggest feud came in 1990 when he blinded Jake the Snake Roberts on the Brother Love show. That led to a heated series of matches, including Survivor Series and a wild blindfold match at WrestleMania 7, which Roberts won. Martel also had feuds with Tatanka, Shawn Michaels, and Bret Hart, but never quite reached the top again. He lasted a then-record 53 minutes in the 1991 Royal Rumble, but by 1994 he was mostly wrestling lower on the card. After a short return in 1995, Martel stepped away before resurfacing in WCW in 1998. He briefly held the TV title but suffered a serious injury that ended his in-ring career. He later worked as a trainer and announcer before retiring fully. In 2003, Martel got a hero's welcome in Quebec, and in 2007 made a surprise WWE appearance with Tony Garea. That wraps up today's video. Make sure to like and subscribe so you're always up to date with our latest content.